Interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Alfred Blaschke set the record as the world's oldest skydiver at 106 years old.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Listen up, Al. I may not know where or who I am when they throw me out of the plane, but I'm coming for your record. I'm doing that.
Yeah, right. If we can just get you on a plane, that's an upset. Jumping out of one?
No, it's unlikely.
So.
Unlikely I would do that. All those people who say, oh, I want to skydive, and it's okay, I'll be attached to this other person. We'll pull the chute together. No, you do that. I'm not doing that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Cavs are peeved, the WNBA season tips off, and PK Subban joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the first of both games last night. You picked correctly, Wilbon. Oklahoma City beating Dallas in Dallas to even their series at 2-2. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 34 points, scoring or assisting on 20 of Oklahoma City's final 30 points. Afterward, Luka Doncic said of Gilgeous-Alexander, quote, he was unbelievable. Maybe at some point we got to send double teams. He's just too good, unquote. Wilbon, was this result about Gilgeous-Alexander or something else?
No, Gilgeous-Alexander led the way. He was the best player on the floor. But it's not like he didn't have help. And he spoke very forcefully, SGA did, about that. And let me pick out the runner-up guy who helped him the most. And there's a lot of help. But Lou Dort is a beast. All right, there's a debate right now going on, which is sort of crazy about how many NBA players could play in the NFL. And even NFL players say, that guy Lou Dort, he could play. He's a linebacker, and he's out there on Luka Doncic. And Luka's hobbled anyway. He doesn't just have one knee giving him trouble. Both knees are giving him trouble. And Lou Dort's giving him trouble. I think Lou Dort is probably the best on-ball defender in the league. I take him as such on anybody between like 6'4" and 6'8". Lou Dort. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander offensively, Lou Dort defensively, they played with a poise. I don't want to hear about how young they are anymore. Not right now, because they did that at Dallas last night. Dallas didn't play badly. Dallas was fine. Oklahoma City was better.
I'm going to go a slightly different way on this. I'm going to tell you that I used an old-fashioned sports writer trick this morning. I looked at a box score. And the box score told me, and I want to get the numbers right, that Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who are established stars in the league, one of them has a championship. Those two guys combined for 27 points, and they shot 10 of 31. All right? That's 7 less points combined than Gilgeous-Alexander had by himself. You can't win that way. And the box score also told me this, Mike, that Dallas shot 12 of 23 from the free throw line, and you can't win that way. Doncic had a chance to tie the game very late in the game with 2 foul shots. He immediately missed the first foul shot. It's a gag at home. I'm not saying that Gilgeous-Alexander wasn't great. I'm saying Doncic and Kyrie Irving weren't good, and no veiled references to bad coaching by Jason Kidd can change that. They got to get more than 27, Mike. During the regular season, they averaged 59.
Tony, you're right. They have to get more than 27, but they may not. Because their defense, knowing how great Kyrie Irving has been in these playoffs, they are loading up on Kyrie Irving and letting Lou Dort loose on Doncic. So the numbers that you just mentioned, yes, of course, they're accurate numbers, but there's a reason why those guys missed those shots. They were getting D'd up, as we used to say. I don't know. This is a great series, by the way. Great watchable series. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for all the people who said, oh, we don't know him, we don't see Oklahoma City, turn your damn TV on. You can see him now. The Celtics are now up 3-1 on the Cavaliers, but last night wasn't easy. Playing without an injured Donovan Mitchell, the Cavs pushed the East #1 seed before losing by 7. After the game, Cavaliers coach J.B. Bickerstaff alluded to the Celtics getting 17 more free throws by saying, quote, we're not asking for anything more, but we're asking for equal, close quote. Tone, do the Cavs have a legit beef about this?
No. Don't blame losing a game on officiating. You want to go to the foul line more? Don't shoot 48 threes. 48 threes. Boston, a team that we think is dependent on a three, shot 32 threes. Cleveland shot 48. You don't get fouled out there. I know why they did it. They made 6 of their first 7. But, Mike, after that, they went 9 for 41, which is 22%, which stinks. I mean, seriously, drive the ball if you want to get fouled. I noticed LeBron James at that game. Wilbon, what are we to make of this? Is he going to go back to Cleveland for a third time? What is this about?
His home is Northeast Ohio. He and Savannah said they went for Mother's Day. I've done that a couple of dozen times in my life. Stopped in to see a Bulls game. Nobody noticed because it doesn't matter if I'm at home. It matters to people.
Well, that's right.
To me,
you didn't play for the Bulls.
I didn't care that much that LeBron was at that game. He's from Northeast Ohio. Good for him. Now, there's no beef. Just the reason you said. You shoot that many threes, you're not going to draw contact. Stop it. And this is not like working the refs like in the Minnesota Denver series. This is not like that, or Rick Carlisle in the Knicks Pacers series. This isn't like that. I understand too, Tony, why Cleveland had to do what they had to do, but then you can't have it both ways. You can't shoot 48 threes, even though you probably needed to, and then say, we got to have more foul calls. No, sorry.
Okay, Donovan Mitchell helps you at the foul line, and he didn't play. He had 17 free throws in Game 7 against Orlando. So the shortfall is explained by Donovan Mitchell not being there. The WNBA season starts tonight with 4 games. 2 of them are on national TV on ESPN2, and one of them has the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark, which is why they're on national television. Indiana is at Connecticut, which has sold out this home opener for the first time in 21 years since its inaugural opener. And that's because of Caitlin Clark. Wilbon, what should we reasonably expect from Clark and the Fever?
Well, Tony, they're going to, you would think that she's going to entertain just by watching her style of play. We're entertained by Caitlin Clark. We have been. Maybe a playoff appearance, maybe because she's playing with Aaliyah Boston, right? Last year's number 1. And so I've watched the preseason games, 2 preseason games, and, they got a long way to go. They may not make it. And they're going to be targeted because Caitlin Clark's going to be targeted because that's what happens in professional sports. The pros see a hotshot college kid coming in, male or female, basketball, football, baseball, or hockey, and they say, oh, yeah, we're going to serve you up some of this here because we're tired of hearing this. That's the way pro sports happens. So there's going to be a target on her back, and that's fair, and she's great enough maybe to answer that. We'll see. But I'd like to see her and Aaliyah Boston. And, they're going to sell out a lot of gyms. Some gyms, they'll cheer her anyway. Connecticut won't be one of them. And some, they'll boo her as she should be as a great opposing player or prospect on the road.
So I love the fact that they are the Fever. We had a cheer in high school. We got the Fever. We're hot. We cannot be stopped.
We can't be stopped.
What should we expect of her? What should we expect of her? A lot of eyeballs. I'm not going to be surprised if her game outrates the hockey on ESPN. I'm not going to be surprised if people jump back and forth from the Knicks and the Pacers on TNT to Caitlin Clark. I watched her last year. You watched her last year at Iowa. She's the rising tide that floats all boats. But this is the pros. The pros are different. The schedule is different. You play many more games. You play the same team often. This is not like Bruce Springsteen coming to your city every 5 years. And you know what, Mike? There are better players than Caitlin Clark in the pros right now. She's a great passer. I don't think she's going to score 25 a game like she did in Iowa. I think that there'll be additional interest in the WNBA because of her, but it's not going to be the Caitlin Clark show. I don't think. Not early on. Let's take a break.
Let me ask you a quick question. You saw up close Pete Maravich when he came into the league with a college career that he was a phenom. Is there anything that to you reminds one of the other?
I mean, I agree with you in the sense that the pros who are there, when someone like this comes in, they want to take them down a couple of notches. I agree with that. But she's the best passer I've ever seen. She can be great by being a passer. The scoring doesn't have to be there. Maravich was great. Let's take a break. Coming up, how nervous should the Rangers be after missing their second straight chance to close out the Hurricanes? We're going to ask PK Subban.
And we're going to ask him about the Sam Bennett punch that's going to keep Brad Marchand out of a second straight game tonight.
I do think people will watch tonight and early on. And if she's great, they'll watch all year.
Fellas, just...
We have a lot of Stanley Cup playoff action to discuss with our great friend and yesterday's birthday boy, PK Subban. Let's start with this. The New York Rangers missed a chance to close out Carolina at home last night. That's 2 losses in a row after they were up 3-0 in this series. How concerned, PK, should the Rangers be?
Well, we know that Rangers fans are going to be very concerned because every single Rangers fan thinks that the Rangers are going to go undefeated all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Well, I'm here to tell them they're not. They're playing a real team, and the Carolina Hurricanes are for real. They pick up, obviously, a couple guys at the deadline. Jake Gensel, probably the main component to help their team with their depth, but they're finding their game right now. So, you know, the Rangers do need to be nervous, but if I'm the Rangers, I'd be more nervous about us not finding our best version of ourselves yet in this series. I think that Igor Shesterkin has been phenomenal. He's plugged a lot of holes for them. They're going to need him to be the best player again in this upcoming game. But I think for the Rangers, they need that desperation back in their game. Washington, that was basically a tune-up series. Carolina's for real. They found their game. It's going to take the New York Rangers' best to beat Carolina, and it should. If you're going to go up against either the Florida Panthers or Boston Bruins, looks like it's going to be Florida, you got to have your best game ready because you know what those guys are coming and you know what they're about. So for the Rangers, it's just getting it done.
I like a little nervousness in New York. Let's move out west for a second, PK. The league, of course, suspended the Avs' top playoff scorer, Valerie Nichushkin, for 6 months prior to last night's game against the Stars for the player assistance program. No further details on that. But where does his absence leave the Avs in this series?
Well, first of all, it's very, very sad to see a player at this time of the year being suspended for substance abuse issues. This is the most selfless time of the year. This is the ultimate team time to buy in with your teammates. So to see a guy go through that obviously speaks volumes about how deep this is. And the NHL reacted very, very quickly in coming down hard on this. I'm assuming that this probably isn't the first time. I don't have all the information on that, but I will say this. There's guys that would give up a lot to be in his situation, to be able to play in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and it's just really sad to see a player in that situation. But I'll tell you this, the Colorado Avalanche have a lot of depth on that team. They picked up Zach Parise for a reason. They have Arturi Lehkonen. They have Miles Wood, who's playing some of his best hockey. They're not out of this by any means, but they're going to have to play their best game because those D-boys, those guys in Dallas are coming to play, and they look poised to get to a Stanley Cup final. So Colorado's in tough because Nichushkin, 9 goals in the playoffs. You could argue he's been their most effective player on the power play. Net front guys are hard guys to find. They know how to play. They know how to move in and out. This is not a replaceable player, but they're going to have to find a way to have guys step up and take over some of that ownership that he has, that real estate that he has in front of the net on the power play.
PK, you mentioned the Panthers and Bruins earlier. Panthers can eliminate the Bruins tonight. Brad Marchand out again for the Bruins after Sam Bennett appeared to pop him pretty hard in Game 3. Was that shot fair or foul?
Wilbon, Tony, I'm so sick and tired of fans complaining about the Listen, I've been complaining. I complain a lot about the officiating. I'm an ex-player. I'm allowed to do that. We always do that. But the officiating isn't the issue in the NHL. It's very, very difficult. This is a contact sport. The refs are going to miss things. You know, people were complaining about Sam Bennett's goal, about goaltender interference. Listen, don't put him on the power play. You shouldn't be in that situation in the first place. So the officiating's fine. On that play, Brad Marchand, as long as I've been in the league, as long as I've been in hockey, I won a gold medal with him at 18, playing in the World Juniors. I've known him. I've seen him get over on hundreds, maybe thousands of guys, shift in and shift out. This was one moment where he was the hydrant, not the dog. This was a moment where, you know what, he was the bug, not the windshield. So I think that for Brad Marchand, probably a long time coming for him, but it's unfortunate he got knocked out of the series. That's just a part of the game, though. That's playoff hockey. These things are going to happen.
The hydrant, not the dog. Love that. I love that. I'm stealing that. We'll get you out of here on this. The Canucks and the Oilers are back on the ice tonight. The NHL suspended Carson Soucy 1 game for that ridiculous cross-check to Connor McDavid right in the face after the game ended. Yeah, McDavid is fine. We know how important he is to Edmonton. But how important is Susie to the Canucks?
Well, I love the way the NHL handled this. First of all, the fine to Zadorov was 100% accurate. Fine him, no problem. Susie got to get a game for that. You can't cross-check anybody in the face. The guy's got no facial protection on. He is the league's best player. I'm sorry, just on that, I would have suspended him. And he's lucky he only got one game. If he breaks Connor McDavid's jaw, who knows how long he's out for. So, you know what? He's got to eat that game. It's a big loss for the Vancouver Canucks. They're going to make a big deal out of it. But they should still be able to get it done. They got Zadorov. They got Quinn Hughes, who's probably going to win the Norris Trophy this year. Ian Cole. They have some big trees back there. Myers, Roenick. They have all these guys back there. They're built for a Stanley Cup run. So, yes, you're going to miss guys. It's part of the adversity. Look at the Rangers. They're going through some adversity with a full lineup. You got to battle through it. So no excuses for Vancouver. They've been the better team because of puck possession. They're going to have to continue to play that way. And Susie's not the biggest Corsi guy. It's not like this guy plays with the puck all game, so they should be fine.
PK, a pleasure. Thank you so much.
PK, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Playoff action on ESPN begins tonight at 7 Eastern. We'll take one last break. Still to come, Kirk Cousins addresses the Falcons' drafting of Michael Penix Jr.
And two big game fives in the NBA tonight. Knicks, Nuggets. They're going to win at home. I'm watching that late game, Tony. Vancouver, Edmonton. Won't miss that.
Tonight on SportsCenter at 6 Eastern. How the Knicks are playing.
Happy time, people. Happy 22nd birthday, Zach Edey. The 7'4" Canadian was Naismith Player of the Year this season and last. He led Purdue to the NCAA final this year where they lost to UConn. During Edey's 4 seasons at Purdue, the Boilermakers were 110-29. Notice I said 4 seasons. Edey is that rare great player who stayed in college, and he improved every year. But he is not quick, and he does not shoot from the outside. He took only 2 3-point shots this season, the only 2 of his career. But at the Combine, he was shooting threes, so there is some question how his adjustment will go in the NBA, which has essentially abandoned the strong low-post center for the long-range bomber.
Look, Tony, I watched Zach Edey a lot of games in person 3 or 4 times. Proud to say Northwestern beat Zach Edey twice when ranked #1 in the country. I root for this kid. He's got a nice touch. You can see that from the foul line. He doesn't need to shoot threes. Foul line extended, the elbows. You can have a career in there. Not to mention defensively, he's going to bother people. I root for Zach Edey. I believe he can make it in the NBA.
Happy anniversary, David Ortiz. On this day 8 years ago, Big Papi hit a walk-off double to give the Red Sox a 6-5 win over Houston and Fenway. With that hit, Ortiz joined Henry Aaron and Barry Bonds as the only players in baseball history with at least 500 home runs and 600 doubles. Since then, Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera have joined that elite club. This was Ortiz's final season as a player. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility in 2022. The Red Sox have struggled in recent years for a variety of reasons. One might be they lack a power hitter like Ortiz, who scared every pitcher he faced.
Tony, I was surprised Willie Mays wasn't on that list. And then I was told that
Me too.
Willie turned about 100 doubles into triples. Which those other guys couldn't do. So Willie Mays is not on that list just as he kept going around second base, looking over his shoulder. Because anyway, anytime Willie Mays is not on the list, we're surprised.
Happy trails to 2 consecutive baseballs to the same fan. In the bottom of the first inning last night, left-handed Seattle hitter Josh Rojas hit a foul ball down the left field line. As you can see, the ball was caught by a guy wearing sunglasses and a Mariners jersey. Good two-handed catch, clean. He held the ball up to some polite cheers. But on the very next pitch, Rojas hit another foul ball to the very same spot. This one wasn't caught cleanly, but it was recovered by the very same fan who raised both hands up like a boxer, a ball in each of them. And I'm quoting here, he's got both. He got them both. Seattle play-by-play man Aaron Goldsmith exulted. Mike, do you remember when the foul ball hit you in the stomach on Cal Ripken's 2,131 game?
That foul ball ricocheted several times before it hit me and settled. But I caught 2 cleanly in the press box in my life. One by Terry Crowley, and I think the other one, Doug DeSense's. I mean clean. On the phone, landline back in the day, on my shoulder, boom, no glove.
Good for you.
You got
Because this
that?
one went right in your stomach and rolled
Well,
around. We go to the big finish. Tiger Woods says he's made no decision on the Ryder Cup captaincy for 2025. Should he do it?
Let's see. This is real complicated. Yes, of course he should do it. Kirk Cousins told the Bussin' with the Boys podcast that it's not helpful to be mad at the Falcons for drafting Michael Penix Jr. Your thoughts?
It's also not helpful to draft Michael Penix Jr. when paying the other guy $100 million guaranteed.
No.
Golden State named its WNBA expansion franchise the Valkyries. Do you like that?
Tony, in Norse lore, this is a warrior woman on a horseback in Norse mythology. Yeah, I guess that's, fine. Marquez Valdez-Scantling signed with the Bills. Is that a good fit?
Got to replace Stephon Diggs. Last one, Pacers, Knicks, Timberwolves, Nuggets tonight. Who you got?
Tony, I got the Knicks over the Pacers, although I'm not confident in that pick. I'm confident in the Nuggets. But the Knicks-Pacers, I can't wait for that game. I have no idea, but I'm going to take the Knicks at home. In the God.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. Katie at Cake Bread, shout out.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcast. Tony, try to stay awake. They're playing tonight.
You're not going to watch Caitlin Clark?
Arena.
Mike, you're not going to watch Caitlin Clark?
This is SportsCenter with Kevin Nagandi and
All right, Wilbon, which way are you leaning in the Pacers-Knicks game tonight?
Tony, this is hard. I mean, logic says to me, Indiana has a slight advantage because the Knicks are they're a mash unit. And so how much can they summon, even though they may start the game hot and good? But I may talk a lot of trash about I-95, but you know me long enough and well enough to know I, too, am seduced by great Knicks playoff games in Madison Square Garden and what it feels like and what it sounds like and what it does to the players on the court when you're sitting there and you're looking at there's Starks and Marbury and Ewing and, and Bernard King and Walt Frazier, and they're all around the court in a way that the ex-greats are not at any other arena. And so I am seduced again into believing that the Knicks are going to find something tonight, energy, strength in reserve, and win Game 5. It's totally irrational, but that's what I'm leaning toward.
So as you know, I'm born and raised on Long Island, and the Knicks were the team of my youth. And to this day, I believe that those Knicks teams of Reed and DeBusschere and Bradley and Frazier and either Barnett or Monroe are the greatest basketball teams ever put together because everybody could shoot and everybody could pass. But they haven't won in like 51 years, something like that. And also, growing up on Long Island, I rooted for the Rangers as a kid. Gilbert and Rattel and Jacquemin, and they've won once in 84 years. So if you ask me about the Knicks or if you ask me about the Rangers, I lean to the fear side, the fear that I've had my whole life, that they're not going to win. They're just not going to win. I would look at it differently if it was a Game 7. But a Game 5 brings out the fear in me. It does. I got to admit that.
You were at a famous game covering it. One of the most famous Knicks players. You were there for Reggie Miller. You were there for that.
Yeah, I was at, I covered that, and I was a fan in the Willis Reed game. No, you're right about the Garden. You're right about what it brings out. You're right about the noise and all of that. I'm pretty sure the Knicks fans, in the 60s or 70s were the first to chant defense. I'm pretty sure that's true. And they, it's a very communal atmosphere, but again, one hasn't won in 51 years, and one has won once in 84 years. It's a long time.
I think the Knicks are going to win tonight. I can't wait to see this game. It's a ball night, special ball night. That's it. We're done. Back to you.